want to make a humble appeal that let's take all these municipalities, but make an impression upon them to strictly stick to 10 minutes so that we then allow members to engage. I also want to believe that this is a good platform for the department, allow the DM also to engage, but let us just become economical with time. Just stick to 10 minutes.
Chair?
Thank you. Yes.
Chair? Can I
That's
ask a question?
Yes, Chair.
Chair, is Chamu Fusenge not going to make presentation?
Okay, no, it's fine. Let's. I'll engage with the chair. I'm the acting chair. I was just given the responsibility to step in during crisis. I'll just come back to you now. Let's take Buffalo City Metro. Executive Mayor Pagati.
Good evening, Honorable Chairperson of the session, Honorable Khai, and your entirety of the committee, to the Deputy Ministers and Ministers present here, fellow mayors. Thank you very much for affording us an opportunity to present before the Select Committee on our plans around the economic recovery. In my team, I am joined by the MMC for Economic Development, as well as the HOD and the General Manager. The City Manager is also present. Tourism in our city has been hardest hit by the lockdown, in particular the ban on international travel. We relied on local tourism, but with the ban on interprovincial travel, when we were on level 5, 4, and 3, we then arrived at the brink of the collapse of the tourism sector in the city. The hospitality sector suffered most, in particular small and medium enterprises such as B&Bs. In terms of the national intervention to mitigate the effects of the lockdown, very little amounts came to this side of the country, to the extent that this has led to the permanent closure of some of the SMMEs who could not survive the lockdown. Having said that, Chair, HOD Ngogas will present our plan. Over to you, HOD Ngogas, through you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mayor, Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Ministers, and Honorable members of the committee, Honorable Mayors that are present, and colleagues. A very good evening to you. Mine will be very short. We thought it necessary, Chairperson, that we also reflect slightly on the pre-COVID situation, because what the COVID did to us was just to worsen the situation or deepen the challenges that we're having. So I have just a few slides which I will try and run through. Can we go to the first slide, please? We'll talk about the pre-COVID-19, we'll talk about support to SMEs, the concessions, incentives, we'll talk about partnerships and the action plans and way forward. Next slide, please. Indeed, it has been made, a point has been made already that we have seen a massive decrease in terms of cases in our metro. The executive mayor has already indicated that the impact was felt very close within our metro, with us losing some of our key leadership, including our speaker, our councillors and staff. So it has really been something that has been very close at home. So it was very tough for us. Can you go to the next slide? We have been working very close with provincial government, with the various structures that have been established, which are chaired by the various heads of departments, which are meeting on a regular basis to discuss and look at ways of flattening the curve and looking at the frontline staff. Thank you very much. Next slide. As indicated by the executive mayor, local government remains at the coalface of service delivery, as we are mandated by Section 152 of the Constitution. So we had obviously to look at long-term plans and ensure that we have the necessary capacity to execute and monitor such plans. Next slide, please. So if you look at Buffalo City, you can see that we are heavily reliant on community services, which contributes about 19% in terms of our economic growth. We have the manufacturing sector, we have trade. So we have a volatile economy, so to speak, that is relying on key economic sectors. And these are some of the economic sectors that were bleeding during the COVID-19. Next slide, please. I've mentioned already, I will not dwell much on this one in particular. So you see a heavy reliance on government and manufacturing. And even on the manufacturing, we see that automotive is leading. We have similar instances like the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro has indicated. Next slide, please. This also looks at the employment situation, where you see that a number of people are employed in the public sector, but we see also that the private sector does play a meaningful role in terms of employment creation, including your trade, your agriculture, manufacturing, finance, and also your household sector. Next slide, please. So in terms of looking at the SMEs and cooperatives without rushing too much, we have established the requisite capacity within the metro to make sure that we integrate the support and the promotion and the development of entrepreneurship. And what we have realized is the high failure rate of SMEs in our metro and throughout the country. So we have been really looking at interventions to ensure that SMEs are sustainable and they grow. We find that they are always emerging and they are not in a place to grow. So we have really been looking at the role of the informal trade, which has been overlooked for some time. Can you go to the next slide? We offer financial support to SMEs, inclusive of cooperatives. We have mentioned that we have several grants that are available, but we do not give out cash, obviously, to SMEs, but we provide the requisite equipment or machinery that is, required to kickstart their businesses because of the risk associated with, transfers of cash. We also provide non-financial support. Market access, for instance, is very important. Most SMEs, do not survive because they lack access to markets. It's not only local markets that we are looking at, but we also take them to international markets through our trade promotion platforms. We look at, business registration, which is very important, branding and marketing, as well as workshops and seminars to empower some of these SMEs. Next slide, please. We have different partnerships. I will mention the development finance institutions that we have partnered with, the Eastern Cape Development Corporation being one of those, where we really look at export development support, which offers, local companies that would otherwise not be in a position to enter international markets. Most recently, they've been exposed into the African continent, where there are countries that are showing higher growth levels than us. Markets such as we have in East Africa, West Africa, and the SADC region as well. So we have been exposing a lot of those companies, and they have made a lot of progress. We have partnerships with CEDA and CIFA in terms of access to finance as well. Can we go to the next slide? In terms of the previous year, we had a higher budget, but unfortunately, due to the COVID impact, the budget has been significantly reduced, and as such, we partner with the private sector to ensure that we unlock their enterprise development support, which I will talk about briefly. Next slide, please. We have, for instance, close collaborations with the Bodakai Chamber of Business, and who are helping us in terms of attracting investment into the city. And this initiative is called Invest Buffalo City. We have also a second program with them, which is called Call to Action, which also looks at, the beautification of the city and making sure that the city works in terms of fast-tracking application processes, be it for rezoning and so on. So we have those close collaborations. We do not have formal partnerships, but with NAFCOC and the Black Business Forum, but we work very closely with them, as well as regional business forums, which we encourage, that are looking at their respective local areas, such as Umdanzane or King Limstown, because we have found that actually these areas are unique in their own way. So we try and incorporate their input in shaping the economy of Buffalo City. Next slide, please. The partnerships, some of them that I've mentioned, we have a very strong partnership with Coca-Cola Beverages, South Africa, that is looking at, creating the requisite infrastructure, looking at, the challenges that spaza shops have in our area. Can you go to the next slide without spending too much time on this? We have established the Buffalo City Metro Development Agency, and this agency has come in handy in terms of delivering the requisite infrastructure. As the executive mayor has said, we rely heavily on tourism, and what we realize is that we don't have different attractions. So ours was to diversify our economy. So they have selected key precincts within the metro, and they are upgrading infrastructure. And within that program, they're able to create jobs and employ local SMEs. So we are hitting many stones, many birds with one stone, in terms of delivering employment creation as well as empowerment of local SMEs. So you can see that really there's a lot of work, including our favorite sport called Ebuhlanti. It's one of the key attractions that we are really investing in, looking at our beachfront, looking at our inner city, so that the city can improve its attractiveness and competitiveness. Can we move to the next slide? In terms of tourism, we mentioned that really there's been a significant contribution in terms of its gross value add into our economy, which was estimated at 3.94 billion rands in 2019, with a 6.1% growth since 2009. In terms of employment, we are looking at about 9,700 employment opportunities. But during peak season, which is around your December, when we have our most events, entertainment, sports events, this exceeds 10,000 and 12,000. So it does increase significantly. So the tourism industry in Buffalo City is quite significant as such. Next slide, please. We have over 1,000 tourism businesses in our city, and most of these are on a smaller scale. They fall within the category of SMEs, and we have about 8,000 beds that are available. Usually we have a high occupancy rate, which is in the region of 63%, but unfortunately, during COVID, this was reduced to almost to nothing. We have, various markets that we are pursuing domestically, Gauteng, Western Cape, as well as locally. Next slide, please. From a budget allocation point of view, we had a significant budget, as I've indicated, over the past couple of years, which we invested in creating the requisite infrastructure, including the creation of resorts. We have a number of resorts that are owned by the municipality, which are in return bringing revenue to the municipality, as well as creating employment opportunities. Next slide, please. We have various programs that are looking at, supporting SMEs, including the events that I've mentioned. I want to underscore that we have identified that we are a sports tourism destination, and as such, we invest heavily in terms of, attracting those sports events as well as entertainment. We have, well-renowned events that attract people from all over the country, even across our borders, actually, that come. I've mentioned the importance that we have put on investing in infrastructure, as well as raising awareness so that we can have an inclusive economy. Next slide, please. I've mentioned also the importance on capacity building and skills, looking at food and beverage sectors. We're looking at various support in terms of equipment, as well as grading of establishments. This is a critical aspect in terms of tourism, making sure that the establishments are graded. So the municipality supports SMEs towards this, and in the past it has also been bearing that cost for grading of those institutions. Next slide. I've mentioned the tourism events that we do partner with the private sector in terms of hosting the events, just to make sure that we have successful events, and this carries on for quite a number of months. And one of the major aspects that we're pushing by supporting these events was to break seasonality, because we realized that if we did not intervene, we could only have October, November, December, and thereafter there is a lull. So we had to break the cycle in terms of making sure that we have events and activities all around the year, so that there is constant generation of income. Next slide, please. I will not dwell much, Chairperson, on some of the slides.
The pace. Can you round up so that
Okay.
other municipalities can also be given an opportunity to present? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. On this one, we are making use of digital media platforms. I think other municipalities have highlighted the importance of using digital platforms. COVID-19 has taught us a lot of things in terms of being ready digitally, and empowering SMEs also to be ready digitally. Next slide, please. These are just some of the platforms that we have been creating to ensure that we showcase and expose some of the local businesses. Next slide, please. Yes, I've mentioned the importance of unlocking potential in rural and township economies, such as your Mdanzanes, which are well known, your Ginsbergs, and so on. So we've been focusing in some of these areas. Next slide, please. These are the partnerships, the National Department of Tourism, which is even helping us to put together a precinct plan for Mdanzane Township. We are working closely with SA Tourism. The CETAs, CAT CETA has been working with us very closely, Transnet as well, in terms of reviving, the port and also the cruise liner industry, as well as the airports company of South Africa. Next slide. These are other partnerships, Women in Tourism, the Border Kai Chambers, and various organized businesses, as I've mentioned before. Can you go to the next slide? We have various highlights, which I will not really dwell much on, but we have supported a number of SMEs, including the Steve Biko Center in Mngesha. Can we go to the next slide? I will not again go further into those numbers, but we have had various successful events. The ones that I'm saying are attracting people even from other neighboring countries, such as Lesotho would come to our Berlin November, which is a horse racing event which has become very popular in our city. Your Buyele Kaya's Pan-African music festivals. These are some of the events. Next slide. These are some of the images that we are showing just to depict the investment that we are making along the coast. These are some of the projects that are being facilitated by our Buffalo City Metro Development Agencies, looking at our waterfront, water world as well. And these really will be bringing in the revenue and the investors. We are seeing already there's contracts, there's interest that has been shown, and there's work on the ground as well. Next slide. Yes, these are just some of the images saying we want to unlock every potential that we have around and along our coastline. Next slide, please. Again, we have one of the oldest Grand Prix circuit in East London, and we want to capitalize on this and make sure that we develop attractions around it. These are just some of the images that we have around it. Can we go to the next slide? Just summarily in terms of the way forward and recommendations, if you can go to the next slide. We are saying from an inclusive economy point of view, it is important that we prioritize townships and also make sure that there is participation, meaningful participation of businesses that are based in townships, not only as small spaza shops and informal sectors, but they are also important to participate along those sectors that we have mentioned there, and there are activities already that we are beginning to see there. Next slide. It is very also important for us to invigorate tourism after the pandemic. We are seeing that even with the restaurants being opened, people are still skeptical to go for sit-ins. So we have to stimulate that demand for our tourism industry. One other aspect that we have observed as very important is making sure that our destination is accessible and it is affordable by making sure that we have low-cost airlines that enable people to reach our destination within their budget. So we have been very fortunate that we have such airlines that are coming, but would want to see more flights that are coming in and out of our area. In the past, this has proved to be a problem, but the economy is opening now. We have regular flights and we have flights over the weekend as well. I've mentioned the importance of township tourism. We are working towards that as a city and investing towards that as well. Next slide. The creative industry growth is also important. In the past, we have seen that we have become a very important destination for films, for shooting of movies, and we are investing towards that. We have also established a cluster around Dagama and other local SMEs in Zwelitsha, which is also infusing the creativity, because these are locally made designs. Again, these are finding expression in international fashion shows, such as London. Some of the shweshwe material is being recognized there, and we are showcasing some of our local designers in such platforms. So we are really looking at exploring and exploiting all the talents that are available, as well as looking at crafters. I think this could be the last slide. Thank you, Chairperson.
Yes. I think you have taken more than you have promised not to utilize. Thank you, Executive Manager, for the presentation. At least we have we gave you ample opportunity to give us a thrust of where tourism is going within the Buffalo City Metro. We will now move to Mopani. I want to make a humble appeal again. Let's make sure that we become economical with time, so that all those that are supposed to present must be able to do that. It means de facto we only have 50 minutes, so that we are then able to allow members to engage. I mean 30 minutes. So it will be Mopani, it will be Garden Route, it will be Dr. Ruth Homutsi, it will be Fransburg District, then Mufutsanyana. The sense that I get, that it has been agreed upon. So let's start with Mopani. Gallop, run, but make sure that the thrust of the presentation is not lost. I think what is critical is for us to be able to get at a high level what are the strategic issues that you have galvanized the leadership of the municipalities around in terms of tourism. Over to you.
Good evening, Acting Chair, to all members of the Select Committee, MECs, my colleagues at the level of the metros and the district. I'm leading a team made of the political management team, the two MMCs, the chair of the portfolio committee, the senior manager, the MM. And without wasting a lot of time, Chair, we all agree that the pandemic has undermined our effort during these difficult times. And I will therefore hand over to the municipal manager to lead us. It's a long presentation, but I know he has capacity to squeeze that in 7 minutes. Over to you, MM.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much, His Worship. Greetings to the meeting, protocol observed. I know I don't have the right to share the presentation, Chairperson. Special greetings to you. If I can ask the flighter to move to the next slide. Next slide, please.
Can we move to the next slide? Sure, thanks.
Next slide. Next slide. Let's go to the next slide. These are our numbers, coverage and population. Chairperson, next slide. We just want to share with the meeting, very important, our demographics in terms of percentages. We're sharing the ages, the unemployed. We also sharing with the meeting the wards in the highest number of poverty-stricken wards. That's where we are. It's in the tower. Next slide. Next slide, Chairperson. Through you. Next slide. Next slide. It's mainly our national provincial alignment in terms of objectives. Next slide. We're cascading that to the district. Next slide. Mainly our goals and 5 strategies. If you can go to the next slide. Next slide. Chairperson, we're sharing with the meeting our strengths and weaknesses. Maybe our eyes can focus on the weaknesses, just to indicate that we are not the best. We've got negatives that we're still working around. Next slide. Again, on the negatives, just to indicate more the negatives that we're still battling with on the next slide. Next slide. These are our sectors at a strategic level on the next slide. Next slide. The impact, Chairperson, in the main is to indicate that we even foreseeing a serious decline in terms of tourism. And that's mainly what we want to indicate here, negatively affected. Next slide. Just to emphasize the previous slide, you can go to the next slide. Common challenges is issues around finance, development, is issues around employment, as I've said before. The growth path is not very positive. Training and hiring professional people, we are still working around that. Next slide. Common needs of our SMMEs, the list goes on there. In the main, it's about everything in terms of the economic resources and HR resources. Next slide. Just new issues, just to emphasize from the slide of COVID impact, we want to elevate the job losses in the main, the issues of access to information when people want to apply for relief funding. We're working with that, amongst others. Next slide. Next slide. This is a provincial response to the COVID impact. As you can see, we've got about 11 issues. Just to elevate 1 or 2, we want to make sure that there's cash flow balancing there. We want to make sure that LEADER and SEDA on behalf of government are able to assist us as the district when we do our coordination. As you know, our work is to coordinate the entire district. Locals are also behind us, and the list goes on there, Chairperson. Next slide. Very important here on the tourism sector is just to indicate the program in place for the policy issues, product development. We've got capacity building, we've got regulations for compliance, we've got tourism so that we market the area. We also have then a proper industry. Next slide. Next slide. That was the provincial response. This is the district one. We want to indicate that we're actually in the main assisting our SMMEs, applying for the relief in the main. Like I said, we're coordinating, assisted by LEADER through the Libra services. Those are the statistics. Next slide. Further, we want to indicate how as the district we are resuscitating our economy in this front. These are the programs that we have, Chairperson, just to indicate that SEDA assisted 53 SMMEs and the sponsorships also assisted, and these are the different programs that were assisted through. As you can see, it's across everywhere in the main. Next slide. This is the statistics. This is mainly the job opportunities that we've created, but we are mainly comparing per sector, infrastructure, environment, social. We are comparing per local municipality, the target versus actual, just to demonstrate. In Guyana, the other infrastructure, our target was 323. Progress, we have got 557. That is the 1920 financial year in the main across. So just sharing with the meeting progress. Maybe members can also focus on the totals. Next slide. NYDA, the program that they're also in the forefront assisting where they can, is funding in the main, mentoring. We also have a KPI fresh from NYDA and also progress. Maybe the right highlights at the chairperson can also assist members to see progress. In the main, we're just sharing work of NYDA. Also on the next slide. We can go to the next slide. Next slide. Still NYDA. Here we just want to indicate that as the district, we have our command council that is actually taking care of these issues of development. So there's a specific focus when you go to our command council, issues around the economy of the district. And this is mainly what it is. As you can see, it cuts across sports, relief issues, like I've said before, LED, small businesses, arts and culture everywhere. So we arrest all in one package. Next slide. Here we're sharing with the meeting the farmers that benefited in terms of the local municipality, and the totals may be of importance to the meeting. Also indicating that not all is well. We are still in progress, trying to assist as we proceed. Next slide. Local procurement, this one just to indicate that as the district, we had our own purchase of PPEs and were assisted through the SMMEs in the local space. Next slide. Next slide. This is tourism, mainly the budgets in terms of the local municipality. These are the numbers, Chairperson. We demonstrated that as the district, we actually are considerate in the entire locality. We want to make sure that there's something happening there. We've got the amount and the activity in brackets. Next slide. It's a continuation of the budgets in terms of the financial year. Next slide. Next slide. This is just the other programs outside finances, just to indicate training, exposures, incubations, and we've got on the right even more development, basic skills, etc., financial management, more on the training side and capacitation. Next slide. Next slide. Partnerships, Chairperson, I won't spend too much time here. Just to indicate the entities we've got partnerships with, the focus areas and progress. Next slide. On the next slide, still partnerships. The list continues on the next slide. Next slide. Entities, programs, etc. Next slide. Next slide. Still partnerships. Still partnerships. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Entities, areas, progress. Next slide. Next slide. Key achievements on partnerships. Next slide, Chairperson. Through you. Key challenges, without wasting time, is just to indicate that we don't have a clean house. We're still working around the clock and with everyone involved just to get things right. Next slide. Next slide. Still challenges. Next slide. I think I've said we did some work and we spoke about the COVID responses. Let's go to the next slide. Next slide, Chairperson. Here I'm going to fly through just to indicate with the meeting that we've got capacity in-house. Next slide. Let's proceed. We've got portfolios. Next slide. These are the meetings. Next slide. Committees, EPD, for us. Next slide. Next slide. These are the directorate officials, the senior manager. Next slide. These are the people we have in the qualification experience. Next slide. Next slide, Chairperson. Next slide. Next slide. Capacity issues. Next slide. This is just the overview, Chairperson. I want to thank you very much. We are done with the presentation. Let's to say when we sent you the presentations earlier, there's a lot of information, but in the main, this is what I wanted to share with the meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Where's my video?
Yes, I'm saying that let's come up. Let me thank
You can.
for having set the scene. presenters that will be coming to say let us be considerate with time. Over to you, Executive Mayor Boyson.
Thank you, Chairperson, and all protocols observed. Can we go to the first slide, please? I don't see our slide, Chairperson.
I suspect the team is still trying to screen it.
Oh, okay, I'm waiting to get off.
I know that will be highly appreciated.
All right, Chairperson, now that I'm audible, can I continue whilst the technical guys are trying the slide, or would you like the slide to go on?
Continue, Executive Mayor.
All right, thank you. Can we go to the next slide, please? Next slide, please. Now, Chairperson, I'm going to continue.
Continue.
All right, thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, in terms of our vision, I'm not going to bore you, but safe to say that in some areas, Chairperson, we did achieve what is contained in our vision. And if anybody Googles the garden route, you will see that it is contained in surveys. And currently, we are punching above our weight. In terms of our story and our background, Chairperson, the garden route is indeed a world-renowned tourist destination. And I've also learned here that they're talking about a hotspot. We are a tourism hotspot. But one of the things, Chairperson, is that we have a lot of underutilized infrastructure. And I'm going to allude to that, at the end of the day, if we deal with that, we can even be a better tourism destination. We're also a combination of being a coastal as well as a rural district municipality. Just as an example, Chairperson, is that we have all the ingredients. We have a port in Mossel Bay, which is underutilized. It is a non-entry port, which means that cruise ships can't sail in directly into the garden route. They either need to dock in Durban or in Cape Town before they can come into the garden route instead of coming in straight. We're also boasting an airport in George, which is an award regional airport. But once again, Chairperson, the runway is too small. And with the oil and gas discovery in Mossel Bay, the airport is too small for cargo planes to fly into George, which would be something needed when the oil and gas exploration would start to boom. Also, Chairperson, that all our coastal municipalities, all of them boast pristine beaches with blue flag status, and some of those municipalities have even more than one blue flag beaches at a time. We're also a very well-known destination for tourism events. And Chairperson, if one takes all of this into account, the garden route can definitely be the next best thing after the city of Cape Town. The next slide is just an indication in terms of how many municipalities, local municipalities within the garden route. There are 7, and five are coastal and 2 are inland. And also, we're very fortunate, Chairperson, that the garden road has also been earmarked as one of the district development model municipalities. So we are looking forward to the partnership with the other spheres and also the sharing of resources as well as intelligence for this model to work. The next slide, please. Chairperson, in terms of our support to SMMEs and to other role players within the space, we did pay out some 500,000 Rand to some of the CEDAs and with the partners that we are partnering with to grow the economy. But then, Chairperson, there are 2 elephants in the room. The first one is the cost containment regulations. I know Honorable Boshoff alluded to monetary support that is lacking. The cost containment regulations have actually prohibited us from taking part and to partner within the space. And I actually got jealous when I'm hearing the other municipalities in terms of their events and how they spend money. I would love to know how they're doing that, but we are constrained by the cost containment regulations. And the other constraint, Chairperson, is the red tape. There are still some approvals which one needs to get from other spheres, and the approvals takes forever. And now with COVID-19, we should actually go into overdrive for the tourism industry to boom again. Next slide. That is just an illustration, Chairperson, in terms of what is currently happening with the interrelationships which we are having. The Premier of the Western Cape have opened up his cabinet meetings, which are now called extended cabinet meetings. In these cabinet meetings, all 5 district mayors are part of these cabinet meetings, as well as all recognized cluster leaders. And there are standing items which include safety, post-COVID-19 economic recovery, as well as tourism, to make sure that we're on par in terms of what the vision is from the provincial government. Next slide, please. Chairperson, on this slide is just an illustration that we are in collaboration with all the local municipalities, and we've actually on the 12th of August also made use of what is it called? The 4th Industrial Revolution technology. We had an international workshop where we've tried to lure international investors back into the district, as well as operators in the tourism industry to come back, that we are open for business. And we still have some more workshops in the pipeline between this month and October. And our intention is by the end of October that we would have a final economic recovery plan through all of these engagements. Next slide, please. We also fortunate, Chairperson, that more than 100, or to be specific, about 136 tourism businesses benefited from the National Tourism Relief Fund, but we know money will never be enough, Chairperson, so there are still industries that are still looking out for some bailout. And then also through various partnerships, Chairperson, we did engage and we're still engaging in terms of dealing with PPEs. And we're also fortunate that we do have a quarantine and isolation site within our district, which is in Mossel Bay. There are more than 300 beds. And we as a district have also availed 2 of our resorts as standby if that facility gets overbooked, which gives us more than 400 beds that are available for any eventuality due to COVID-19. Next slide. Chairperson, we've also, due to our partnerships with the various clusters, all the business chambers within our region, we've engaged them, and they've done some assessments in terms of the impact of COVID-19 within the industries, whether it's tourism, whether it's construction, and they came back with some reports which are scary, Chairperson, which definitely indicates that we definitely have to go into overdrive when we have to revive the economy. We've also been in talks with Nedbank as well as Standard Bank, because we know that they have these programs for spaza shops and general dealers. We want to utilize that to see if we can't get a quicker rollout within the district. We also have memorandums of understanding with tertiary institutions. Examples is the Nelson Mandela University, the South Cape College, as well as the University of Stellenbosch. And the intention is to pick their brains and to use them as think tanks in terms of expertise on how we can turn around the economy going forward. Next slide, please. Chairperson, we've also embarked on a lot of other campaigns. We've launched various hashtags like hashtag Garden Road and Me. This is where people can display their experiences within the garden road, Also, Chairperson, where they display in terms of their interactions with businesses, and we also recognize businesses that came up with creative ideas for their own survival and to continue to familiarize the garden route as a destination of choice. Next slide, please. Chairperson, in terms of events happening within the garden route, as I was saying, we're a tourist destination. There are also a lot of world-class golf courses within the garden route. If one looks at the PGA calendars and their standards, all of the golf courses qualify to be part of the world calendar. Chairperson, we're also boasting one of our own champions within the garden route, who is Ernie Els. Ernie Els have engaged with us that you would like to start a tournament which would attract golfers and golf followers right around the world, and already has engaged the Sunshine Tour, and they are looking forward, Chairperson, to have these partnerships with us and to have these events. But as I was saying, Chairperson, once again, we might be stuck because of the cost containment regulations. And these are issues, Chairperson, that if we don't revisit these containments, we might lose out in terms of opportunities to revive what's it called, the tourism industry. And also, Chairperson, even the Ernie Els Autism Foundation, they've also already given us the thumbs up. All we're waiting for, Chairperson, is the thumbs up in terms of approvals going forward. And then we can get the garden route going up again and up and running. Next slide, please. Chairperson, that is just an illustration that we don't have to pull into different directions. If we all work together, especially under the new district model and the partnerships that we're envisaging, then we can be the best together again. Next slide, please. Chairperson, thank you very much, and we are looking forward to welcome you folks back into the garden route. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Acting Chairperson is having an emergency, but he is still connected, but is attending to something telephonically. He's going to join the meeting. Can we then move to the next district municipality, Dr. Ruth Mopati?
Thanks, Acting Chair, and to the Deputy Minister, MECs, colleagues. I'm here with the municipal manager, the manager in the office of the municipal manager, and the manager in the office of executive mayor. Also, we have the senior manager for economic development, tourism, and agriculture, including the senior manager for community services. But Chair, I just want to give a small overview that yes, we also knocked down by the COVID-19, but much as everything has got an advantage and disadvantage, we have learned a lot out of the disadvantage that we have gone through this period. So without a waste of time, Chair, I'm going to give over to the municipal manager in the name of Mr. Jerry Mononela to give the presentation, and with the hope that we will engage thereafter, especially that there are issues that we want to be talking to. Thank you very much. Over to you, Mr. Mononela.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Executive Mayor. Can we move to the fourth slide? The fourth slide is briefly in terms of the district profile, where we are highlighting the fact that we are bordered by the Northern Cape as well as Botswana. We also highlight that our district is a very rural district. We make almost half of the geographical area of the province. In our district, we have around 470 villages and towns dispersed within about 250-kilometer radius. Next slide, please. In terms of slide number 5.
Enrico, go to slide number 5, please.
Okay, in terms of slide number 5, we'll just highlight some of the tourism destinations that we have. We've got the UNESCO listed Taung World Heritage Site in Greater Taung municipality, and that has led to the Taung Heritage Route. We can go to the next slide. In terms of Lekwa Temani local municipality, which is Christiana and Bloemhof, we have the Bloemhof Dam, which is hosts several national and international fishing as well as angling competitions. And we also have the Untitled Treasure Route in that municipality. In Karisa no Molopo, we have the Moroccan crater, which is an impact crater buried within the Kalahari Desert near the village of Moroccan. Next slide. Slide number 7, we then have our other local municipality, Mamusa, and Naledi local municipality, which is a gateway to the Upper Karoo, Kalahari, Southwest Coast, and Namibia. We can skip slide 8. We can skip slide 9. In terms of our slide 10, financing offerings, I think we are conceding that as a district, we do have budgetary constraints, and that has led us to partner with other state funding agencies such as CEDA and NYDA. Next slide. Yes. So if our intention is to assist the tourism accommodation industry with PPE, health and safety training, as well as COVID-19 awareness schemes. Currently, the municipality is assisting BNBs with tourism grading. From time to time, do procure equipment and furniture, as well as a municipality, we have the Taung Hotel School in the Greater Taung, and annually we give about 20 to 25 students within the district an opportunity to learn about the hospitality industry. Slide number, in terms of concessions and incentives, the municipality, of course, with this limited budget, we do create platform for SMMEs to participate in trade shows such as the tourism in Dava, Makufe, as well as various Botswana trade fairs. We've also developed videos for marketing of various tourism sites, and the municipality has also developed and built billboards on the major national routes within the district, which is the N12, N18, and 14. The next slide. Briefly here, in terms of non-financial development, we are marketing material. We also improve, of course, tourism activity in the district by hosting events. And we've also established a district tourism association where ourselves, province, and national departments meet in the industry in our district. Next slide. In terms of partnership initiatives, currently we do have an MOU with CEDA, and CEDA is our key stakeholder that's assisting us in terms of supporting SMMEs. Next slide. In terms of donor funding, there's not been too much donor funding. Fair enough, we do get some funding here and there from CEDA. What the municipality has also been doing, we have been coordinating with national and provincial departments and entities for relief stimulus packages to SMMEs in the industry. In terms of other partnership initiatives, we do have a youth in tourism forum. We were in the process of launching Women in Tourism, which was stalled by the pandemic. We, as a district, have also created relationships with the local authorities in terms of availing land for tourism development. We are establishing an ecotourism facility at the Ditakwaneng village. We are working with several stakeholders to put the funding together. We are also looking at that ecotourism facility will have a nature reserve, leisure resort, cultural village, as well as pottery. Next slide, in terms of other partnership, it's also the establishment of an SMME hub in Bloemhof along the N12 treasure route. SMME hub will have place for courier shops, crafts, artifacts, and an information desk to disseminate information. Next slide. Policy response, to say it is common cause, of course, that the tourism industry has taken quite a knock. Therefore, as a municipality, we are aggressively, now that the business has opened up, working with the key stakeholders in order to boost the economy. We will be restoring the SMME sector visibility through marketing and support. We're also imitating the various tourism structures that we have in order to ensure better coordination mechanisms. We'll also be looking at relating demand by advertising tourism attractions, preparing recovery, and shaping the future of tourism, reviewing some of our plans in terms of the district development model. The next slide, in terms of our action plans, the district municipality has adopted 5 key experiences or approaches. The first one is about heritage of districts. Second one is culture. The third one, water sports. The fourth one being agriculture. And the last one being hunting, which is also very big within our district. The next slide, in terms of policy recommendation, to say the district municipality will reposition and rebuild the districts as a destination. We will also be looking at supporting for the starting of virtual tourism events. And then lastly, we will infuse our upcoming adjustment budget with directives to improve district tourism and district economy at large. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much for the presentation. What we're going to do now, I don't know if the chair is back, in case I get disconnected, but I hope that because it's in the evening now, I not have the challenge ahead during the day. We are going to allow members to ask questions to all the municipalities. We're not going to take one municipality. You can ask questions to all of them if you have questions to each one of them. And then what we'll then do after that, we will check whether the department want to have a response on some of the issues that are raised by the 2 provinces that are here. If they also have advice to share with the municipalities, they are also free to do that. Yeah, can we allow members then to ask questions?
The Francis Bar District Municipality.
Oh, there's another one.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Okay, can you take the floor, Francis Brad? Is that the only one left?
No, it's Francis Bart and Futsanyana.
Oh, because I was looking at the program. Actually, was the last one on my program is Ruth Mumpat. Oh, okay. Then you're gonna run out of time in terms of the questions and responses because it's almost 22.
Yes.
22:09. We're supposed to finish at 9. Okay, the next one.
Executive Mayor Marekwa. Can we have Francis Bart?
Are they here?
Mebo Khatswi. looks like
Oh yeah, there's a presentation that has been flighted, but we have the executive mayor,
Marekwa, yeah. Marekwa.
Marekwa, on the platform.
I don't see Chair, unless there's any other officials, but I don't see anybody else from Francis Bar. We received the presentation, but I don't see the officials present, unless somebody can just they can just indicate that they are from that municipality, but I don't see.
Is there anyone from
Francis Bar?
Can we have an indication? And the Chabomu Fatanya, anyone from the municipality?
There is, yeah.
There is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Let's check the name of
Councillor Villagas. Yeah.
Yes.
Executive Mayor Councillor Villagas. Over to you, Honorable.
Good evening, honorable members and fellow colleagues from the department as well as municipalities. My name is Selbelo Mabala. I am the Director of Community Services. The Executive Mayor had an emergency, and she requested me to go through the presentation with the permission.
As the chair will say, gallop.
Yeah, gallop.
I think let's keep this slide because it's just the presentation. On the funding and incentives, we are saying like any other district, we do not receive any grant or any direct grant from the province or national to support, except we are using our equitable share to stimulate the tourism. We have budgeted in our budget 2 million for tourism support in the current financial year, and we have partnered with our local municipalities to assist with incentives for offer certain incentives to our products at local level. Next slide. The non-financial development programs. We have established a forum for women in tourism, so that we stimulate the participation of women in the tourism sector. In as far as capacity building is concerned, we have organized capacity building workshops for SMMEs in
everybody should be able to.
Okay.
Mattia, can you mute, please? Mattia, can you mute, please? Okay.
In as far as partnerships are concerned, we have partnered with the department, national department, the enterprise development, and other stakeholders. CEDA is our main partner, and we've got a partnership with Sand Parks, which is the largest national park in our district. We've got a forum where we coordinate the participation of tourism products in the district, and we're trying to bring in emerging product owners into the mainstream of tourism in the district. Next slide. The policy response to COVID-19, through the partnership we had with CEDA, we managed to organize a workshop and in relation to safety measures within the COVID-19 environment. We dealt with the preventative maintenance program, maintaining of safe working environment, monitoring and maintaining of health and safety, and as well as cleaning program. And Tamamfuzanyana, as we said, because we did not receive any specific grant, and which is a main problem, but at least through the guidance of the executive mayor, we have put aside 2 million, which will be considered for the purpose of stimulating the economy and investing into the tourism sector as we move towards reviving that sector again. Next slide. The COVID-19 Tourism Relief Fund in the district, we received, we made up a lot of applications for assisted lot of our products and tourism entities to secure tourism relief grant, but only 28 tourism SMMEs benefited from the relief fund. Each of those SMMEs got 50,000 from the national department. The tourism relief grant should, we therefore put forward to the committee to say, let the relief grant be expanded to the district specifically to target the informal crafters and traders, because some of them, they could not access this grant because of many other impediments in terms of accessing the system. Next slide. In as far as recommendations are concerned and the way forward, we recommend that there be a survey undertaken to assess the impact of the COVID-19 in the tourism industry, which is what we will also be doing as a district. We will also, as part of rebuilding the tourism sector and recovery, we will be conducting this survey so that we can come up with interventions to stimulate back the tourism sector. The portion we therefore also recommend that the portion of the tourism relief grant should be transferred directly to the district as a grant, so that we will be able to invest it where to the areas that we directly relate with. Because of the tourism industry is a main privately owned, we also recommend that maybe the committee should look into the possibility of lobbying for a district-based tourism grant directly from nationals in order for us to stimulate the tourism and assist in transformation of the tourism sector. In application of the district development model approach, we recommend that the DDM model be used as an appropriate model in dealing with the recovery of the tourism sector post-COVID-19. Thank you, Chairperson. That is the.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Honorable members, I will need guidance from you now. The time now is almost 8:45. As you know that we are allowed 3 hours for our committee meetings. We had to make a special application to another 4 hours. Now we cannot go beyond 9. That's why I see there's a hand of a honorable combination of asking a question that we are able to ask within the limited time that we have, and then send a written question that have made a presentation, and they have a time period in which we should get the responses. I'm worried that we won't do justice to ask questions and expect thorough responses within the limited time. Honorable Bishop.
Thank you very much, Chair. I just have a quick question to the Francis Bart District Municipality. I see in their presentation.
Sorry, which one is that?
The last one, Francis Bart District Municipality. Okay.
Wasn't it Tabo Mufutana, the last one? Yeah, it's Tabo Mufutana.
Sorry.
Francis Bart. Yes, the last one.
That's right.
Yes. Okay, you can continue, Honorable Bishop.
Thank you. I'd just like to find out, in the report they said that every SMME received 50,000 Rand. Could they give us an indication of how many SMMEs they then have? Because if that is the case, it would appear as if the whole tourism relief fund went to them. Thank you very much.
Are you there, Chair?
Okay. So, and then I think they will have to also send us a list of those SMMEs. Honorable Member?
No, I'm happy, Chair.
Oh, you're happy? Okay.
I was on standby, Chair.
All right. Can I then ask that we take that approach of and then send the question through the committee secretaries, and the committee secretary will send them to the municipalities for responses. Maybe we can use this period, the constituents period, to go through those documents. I met with the management committee on Thursday last week. We were assessing the state of readiness for this meeting because it's a first of its kind that we bring together the national department and the provinces as well as the local government. So wanted to make sure that things were going to be smooth today. By Thursday, we did, and that was a worry, for me. On the 29th, we were scheduled to have a meeting, a similar meeting, a meeting of this nature with the DTIC. And I became worried. Fortunately, then the program of the NCOP was revised, that this week will be our last week as NCOP. We're coming back on the 5th. If we were going to continue until the 30th of September, we would perhaps have a similar problem in terms of getting the reports from the provinces and municipalities around the issues that are contained in the brief for the DTIC, the industrial parks and the SEZ. We then said, let us push that meeting as far as possible so that we have enough time for the reports and all that. So that's why that meeting now is going to take place on the 24th of November. It's because we learned from the delays that we experienced in getting the reports from the provinces and from the local government.
Sorry, Chair, we cannot hear you.
Looks like the chair has a challenge again.
For the municipalities. This is robbing us of a question that will ultimately assist out. Can you then take over? Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, though sometimes you disappear. Yes, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I think, honorable members, I think the Chair was just making a reflection in terms of what are the lessons.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. I think let's then give you an opportunity to wrap up before you disappear again, Chair.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, Chair.
Continue.
No, thank you. Honorable members, I think what we can do probably is to give the Deputy Minister an opportunity to just make a reflection in terms of the issues, salient features that emerge from the presentation, opportunities that are there, challenges that are raised from all the presentations that we received, and then based on that, as a select committee, will then give the final reflection and then give a way forward. Over to you, DM.
Thanks very much, Chair, and let me take this opportunity to
to firstly thank the committee for this great initiative of convening these discussions around the issue of tourism and what is it that as a collective we need to do to make sure that we recover and revive the industry after it has been hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, my observation, Chair, is that firstly, we need to work together and be able to share as a collective whatsoever plans, information, and budgets that we have. And we do believe that the the district development model will be of great assistance moving towards that direction so that we're able to pull the resources together. But what we appreciate greatly is that we've made an observation since we came that there've been a challenge around the tourism as a priority economic sector that has got the potential to create sustainable livelihood and create opportunities and even business opportunities for our people. And we think we have not been able to maximize that. And when we're analyzing some of the LEDs of the IDPs of municipalities, we discovered that tourism has always been put at the periphery. Even where, as the minister was saying earlier on, even where the municipality has got a huge tourism potential, it has not always been lifted to that level of priority. And we think this exercise that we're engaging upon will be able to sensitize municipalities the importance of tourism and the extent to which it has got a key value in terms of changing the lives of our people. So I was very much impressed by some presentation, but you could see that there is the level of prioritization and the level of the extent to which a support is needed is uneven, and therefore there is a need to look into that and say, how do we make sure that where there's huge potential, we're able to come in and provide the necessary support that is needed so that we make sure that tourism triumphs in those areas. I've seen in the chat there were some comments that have been made. We've looked into that. For example, the last presentation by Thabo Mfutsanyan, they make a special request. We'll attend to that request that they've raised and see how best can we collaborate and work together so that we're able to improve. For me, Chair, we need to, once you have finalized your work as a committee, it will be really grateful for us to have a total picture of what then we've found and what is it therefore that we need to do collectively within the context of the tourism recovery plan, so that we don't walk past each other and make sure that what national is doing is able to be complemented by all the provinces and all the municipalities, so that we're able to move in one direction, all of us. Earlier on, there was this issue of coordination. There is coordination taking place, especially through MINMEC and also in the department. We've got a section that deals with provincial and local government, which is coordinating and also building capacity into various municipalities on to be able to understand what is it that needs to be done in order to revive tourism in their area of jurisdiction. The issue that has been raised around working with COPTA, we acknowledge that, but what members must understand is that because I saw the comment that TDM is said to be operational in 2045. I don't think it is correct. We have started working on the DDM in various municipalities. OR Tambo, for example, is one of them, where there's a profile and it indicates what are the tourism potential. And based on this tourism potential, what is the infrastructure that is there? And then working together with the province and the municipalities, we're developing a plan as to how then do we make sure that the infrastructure that is needed, that is required to make sure that tourism is become accessible and diversified. We're able to work with those municipalities, work with those districts, work with those provinces, and make certain intervention where intervention is needed. So there is a collaborative effort, but the challenge that we have is that the resources are limited, the needs are very huge, and therefore it will not be possible to be able to cover everything at a go. But gradually, there is that political commitment and will to take this process forward and make sure that we achieve the intended objectives that because we believe that tourism is the low-hanging fruit. It was at a huge potential to change the economic scale of our country in each and every district, in each and every metro, and in each and every province. And therefore, we need to see how best we collaborate and work together to make sure that we achieve that at the end of the day. So we'll appreciate that, because I'm not sure whether officials were provided with the presentations, the various presentations that were being flouted here. If not, we'll appreciate if it can be made available so that we're able to analyze them properly.
Thank you, dear. Time has run out now for us too. In terms of we'll definitely make sure that the presentation, as per your request, indeed reaches the department. I want to take this opportunity to express my gratitude on behalf of the script committee to all the participants led by the minister, the deputy minister, the executive mayors, municipal managers, executive managers. Indeed, it was a pleasure in terms of getting a sense in terms of where we are heading to in an attempt to reignite the tourism sector. I think what is quite critical from ourselves is having noted the fiscal and monetary stimulus that the department has launched to assist. But more than that, the implementation of the tourism relief funds, the tariff funding, opportunities that are there in terms of the loan guarantee schemes, but locating everything that we do within the National Development Plan, which has identified tourism industry as one of the catalysts. What is also critical from ourselves is that the key actions that were identified in the tourism recovery strategy are issues that we need to appreciate and take forward within the context of alignment across all the three spheres, with a view to ensure that we align our plans between government and business. But I think what is critical also is the transformative initiative that the department has also raised. Much more support that is given to the women's program, the rural development, with a view to ensure that indeed at the core under development parts of the country also becomes the beneficiary, the coastal towns. But also what is quite critical to us is the assurance from the department that the support coordination across the department is indeed taking place. And also
Gee. Jay, I think Mr. Moimang got disconnected.
So it's disappeared. I'm not sure what has happened.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, Jay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I see, is trying to call me. I don't know. He's also having the same challenge that I'm having. I think I don't know where you was now, but I guess that he was making the closing remarks. If that is the case, I will also add to those closing remarks by thanking everybody, the minister, the deputy minister, the MECs, N, MEC Nomusa Dube Ngube, MEC from Malanga, MEC Uban. We thank them for their attendance. Also thank the executive mayors from the metros and from the district municipalities. As I was indicating earlier, I hope I'm still audible. We will have an opportunity to look again at the documents and developments to the is to compile a report and take into account the action plans that the municipalities are having, as well as the recommendation that you're making and for intervention. And those will be part of the report. And then that report will be sent back to the committee for consideration and adoption. Once it is adopted, it will then be 86 and it will be discussed in the plenary. And those recommendations will then be followed up by the office of the chairperson of the NCOP. So that is going to be the process going is in particular. Just to indicate to this committee the work that they do in the township and the rural areas. So that I was looking, for example, at the role that is played by the Buffalo City Development Agency. There were monies that were allocated to particular projects. When I look at that slide, most of them were in town in East London. We would like a situation where there's a specific allocation in the projects in Danzane, in Dimbaza, in Zwelicha, in the Mahoni, Kwelecha, Cholomna, those kind of projects. Because Nolude, when she was presenting, she went into town with regard to those projects in town, but just mentioned that we're doing this work in Tanzania without specifying what kind of projects are in Tanzania what kind of projects are in Ginsberg, in Zwelitsha, in Timbas. So in future, we'll be inviting you, all of you, to be specific in terms of the work that you're doing in township. That don't tell us what is happening in town. Just tell us what is happening in township. Are you investing in those townships and the rural areas? So otherwise, we would like to thank you for coming. This will also assist us in future as well, as we conduct oversight. There's something that I found I was not comfortable with when I came to the NCOP. When it comes to oversight visits, I would see the official would write to the department and ask the departments to give us the project that we must visit. For me, it's supposed to be the other way around. We're supposed to be telling the department that on a particular week of oversight, we'll be visiting these particular projects rather than getting the project. Will give us those projects that they know that they are doing well. I'm not saying that they would be lying to us, but with these kind of reports that we're getting now from the municipalities, we will be able to go there and find out what is it that the national department and the provincial department is doing to assist there. You were still doing a closing remarks. I hand over to you again. Honorable Mimang.
Chairperson, my humble and sincere apology, I got disconnected.
Yes, now you can continue with the closing remarks.
No, I think you have indeed laid the matter to rest, Chair. Let me allow you to.
No, thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank
you, Chair. Thank you.